With a title like My Commuting Crush, what do you expect a game to be about? Some sort of emotional, compelling romance? Perhaps involving having a crush on someone who takes the same public transport service as you. To be honest, the title does not leave room to the imagination when it comes to Frontwing's latest English visual novel to come west, Loca-Love, My Commuting Crush. What you see is what you get. In Loca-Love, My Commuting Crush, players take the perspective of ordinary high school student Aoi Ichitaro. Ichitaro runs into a lovely spot of trouble when a burst pipe renders his apartment unavailable due to flooding. So, whilst the landlord gets to work on building repairs, Ichitaro is left looking for some temporary accommodation. Luckily for him, his co-worker, Koji Gahiwa, offers him a place to— hold on a second, that's not right. That's the plot of the previous entry, Loca-Love, My Cute Roommate, whoops. So Loca-Love, My Commuting Crush takes place in a parallel universe where the first thing Aoi did was call his parents, who were spontaneously able to convince some relatives to let him stay with them. This has the downside of meaning Ichitaro's journey home has increased from a 10-minute train ride to an hour-long train adventure. On the upside though, it means he's catching the train home with Neo Aritagawa, a popular girl in his class who he is crushing on hard. In other words, his commuting crush. There's the title, folks. For whatever reason, this game was banned on Steam a year ago, so if you wanted to pick this up, you'll need to go through other online storefronts, which means no hunting through extra links for R18 patches. A good thing really, because this game would have been really tricky to cut down. It's like 90% hornier than the previous entry with constant throwbacks to those H scenes. Neo is an odd character as well. She doesn't have the same sort of cohesive setup that Hiwa did, and there's a real lack of character exploration for her until the very end, so she plays a very passive role. All they can really muster otherwise is a couple of pieces of narration over a single reused flashback sequence between Neo and her grandmother. Additionally, she's got a pretty crude and lewd introduction that I'm just not going to go into for the sake of age rating this review. Luckily, the CGs and character art are fantastically drawn, and the voice acting adds a lot to the overall experience. There is less fluffy cute stuff happening during the narrative compared to My Cute Roommate, but it does manage to become quite charming during its final scenes. That's because this tale, whilst very short and very shallow, does have an arc of sorts, involving Aoi's attempts to figure out how Neo thinks and how he can become closer to her. In the end, it's incredibly minimal, but it leads to some of the later scenes gaining a bit more weight to them. Not like the story is trying to accomplish much more than the bare minimum, but it's short enough to make that work. Aoi is almost always unseen and is quite bland, doing nothing more than necessary to fulfill his role as player wish fulfillment. I really do feel he could have expressed some sort of interest in literally any topic, because his only real personality trait is being a pervert every now and then. At least he has some cute chibi sprites for things. The sequences for the heroines of other titles are more functional this time and amusing than they were in the previous entry, but it still doesn't stop the world from feeling just as empty as it did before due to the lack of any other background characters. Whilst the story and characters lack any real depth, in classic Frontwing style, the UI never fails to disappoint as it's full of options, character skips, customization modifiers for the text block, jumping, individual sound modifiers, touch controls for tablet support. Every option you could possibly think of and more are contained in that perfect and pastel options menu. Neo taking the place as a system voice is also a very pleasant touch. The way the game shifts between scenes with its collection of transitions and title cards creates a very satisfying feeling of chapter clear after each sequence, which I will always enjoy. The game will also zoom in on a background CG, pan across it, or mess with the focus, which is a great little tactic for pulling the player's focus.
Neo や、お前は将来美人になるからね。男もたくさん寄ってくるだろうよ。
Loca-Love, My Commuting Crush is a quick and satisfying game to play alone on a Friday night. It's not dripping with fluffy romance like its predecessor, but it does provide a bit of substance that expands upon the better moments of storytelling this series offers. Regardless of why you play it, there's enough to look forward to for the next installment, Loca-Love, My Pure Priestess. Noisy Pixel is giving Loca-Love, My Commuting Crush a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Noisy Pixel is a group dedicated to bringing you guys the best news, reviews, previews, and more. Please stick around and subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell to stay up to date on all of our future content. Additionally, check online for the text version of the review because not everyone likes to listen to videos. Some people like words. But why are you on YouTube then? People can do whatever.